Hey everyone, welcome in. Betsperts Golf here for a little bit more Texas Children's Houston Open. Breaking news at the top of the show. Scotty Scheffler hates children, especially sick children in Texas. No one wants to talk about it, Andy, but we're going to talk about it today.
No one is really breaking this the same as we are. Yeah, this is the funny timing. So funny timing right before we do a live show. Yeah. It could be worse. He could do this right after we tape a live show. That's much more annoying because we would spend 10, 15 minutes of this 45 minutes to an hour talking about, is he going to get it right? How do you approach him in DFS? How do you do without Scotty markets in the betting? So none of that today. We're just going to pick the winners. I had a rough start to the season. Outright golf really breaks your heart, really breaks your brain.
Yeah.
And anyone who's bet or done DFS for a while knows, like, there's that, you have those moments of doubt where, like, is my edge broken? Am I doing it wrong? Am I just stupid?
Sure.
And
we've all thought that about you at certain times.
Yeah, everyone's thought that about me. You have that when in golf, when you just can't get anything right for 4 or 5 weeks. And that's how it was starting the season. It was a few top 20s here and there. A little bit of hitting smaller bets to kind of help me not lose everything every week, but nothing for a while. But yeah, 2 in a row, Cam and Fitzy. Not a big price for Fitzy last week, but it is better than a sharp stick to the eye or sciatica or a broken glass to the hand. I don't know if what Scotty's done, if he's gone back to ravioli making. We'll find out soon. It's still a pretty fun field here, and truthfully, the show should be like 10 minutes long because we reference this tournament when we're talking about other tournaments. Like, hey, is there, there's not really an archetype here like you have at Memorial Park, because Christ almighty, there's an archetype here. And I think that's probably the headline. And second headline is, I think as I spend time digging in more and more, there is something to be said for the differences in how the course is going to be compared to last year, excuse me.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a clippable, editable short. Is driving distance completely overrated at Memorial Park? Because I think that it's oversimplifying the handicap of a course that actually has a lot more nuance. Because so it's tough to handicap. This used to be played in the fall. It was, again, Bermuda throughout. Challenging. The rough was up a little bit. It played significantly different. It's pretty much any course is going to play in November versus March, early April. Then we had the year off. We played 2024, first time in this slot. And it had a lot of teeth. And yes, the guys at the top of the board can hit it a long ways. It's a long par 70, long par threes, some really long. It's long. It's long. Last year was really soft. They got a lot of rain. We started to actually model. I had 2 models. And I'm like, why did I see it? I was like, why did I model twice? And I went and looked because I had changed driving distance to carry distance because we were worried about soft landing and a little bit of like lift clean in place because the course had played so soft. So I think last year it really magnified distance to a degree that I don't think we're properly accounting for this year. I think you need to be more holistic of a golfer. I think you have to be dialed with your irons. I think you have to have more short grass around the green chops because I think you're going to miss more greens this year than last year because it's not going to be as soft. So distance still matters. I think it's an important piece of any model. But I think just like I kind of joked and I tweeted out from our house account over the weekend, like, here's all you need to handicap Memorial Park is just like ball speed, club head speed. But I think you need a lot more. And I think there's going to be some guys that maybe slip through the cracks, in particular in DFS, that maybe aren't going to model well if you are giving 30% of your model driving distance or carry distance.
I still believe, like, let's not downplay it. It still matters. It's still
no, it matters. But I think
it matters. But
we're seeing guys on cards that I'm like, that guy's not playing really good golf at all. He just hits it very far. And it's like, really, you got to sell me on that.
I don't think you can just snap play Knapp. Like, hey, I'm going to play Jake Knapp because of this and that. Like there's a few guys I've seen where it's like,
there's bombers in great form. That's what I'm talking. Those guys are great place.
Exactly. And Nikolai, we will get to some one and done advice here because I think it's a very unique event, especially now. But as you mentioned, and I think that's a big part of the handicap and a big part of what we want to talk about today it is notably drier than honestly the last couple of years. It hasn't rained here for about 2 weeks. There's no rain expected. It's warmer. It's been warmer sooner. So some of the Bermuda, we talk about that as we get through this part of the season. Hey, we had to overseed. Why? Because I mean, it's like your mom's flowers. They don't, she doesn't plant them in December. There's a certain time of year certain plants grow, and Bermuda is that way. Bermuda goes dormant until it, we have certain warmth in the soil, and we're starting to see some of that underlying Bermuda popping, which you're going to get grainier, more inconsistent surfaces, especially around the greens, with more of that mixed in, and truthfully, it is going to be firmer and faster, which, again, plays to some of the bombers where they're going to get some rollout and they're going to have much easier approach shots, but they're going to have easier approach shots into tougher greens because it is going to be soft and receptive like we saw, in 2025. So around the green is probably getting a little bit of upweighting based on, where I'm at this point of the year. And it's going to be warm. It's going to be dry. The greens could be a little grainier. And God, somebody, and I wish I could give them credit. Somebody made the analog to the November Masters, where it's just like, oh, this is not how we expected the areas around the green to play, because this is not how the areas around the green play. Whereas, the agronomy was just different in Augusta come that time of year compared to what you get in April. And I think it's just going to be a little bit different for some of these guys. So you do need a little more of an all-around guy. So I think, your main archetype is still a bomber, but it can't just be, I think we both had Minwoo last year.
We did.
And I don't know that he was playing all that well. It was just like, hey, this guy fits. I should go back and look. Maybe
he's great. He's his around the green, right? He's Dr. Chapinski. His around the green skills are tremendous, and he hits in a mile, right? And that's what we knew coming in, and it made a lot of sense. So distance always matters, right? Because you're especially when the test is hard, because simple golf math is the ability to hit a 9-iron into a firm and fast green is easier to hold than to hit a 7-iron or a 6-iron. So distance is going to always be an advantage. It matters here for sure. I just think it's a spot where we don't just look at these, bombers down the board and just say this guy hits the mile. Now, some of them popped even last week. Like, I would have loved to bet Marco Penge at 60. He's been trending in like 70 and 80, and he shows a pulse for a couple rounds in the Valspar.
Spoiler this week, I just couldn't not.
I get it. But that's actually perfect, right, Andy? Because that's a guy who hits in a mile who's playing good golf, right?
That's the thing. Yeah, we need. Chris Gotterup. You have like a 3-part approach. I'd love a bomber. I don't give a shit about accuracy. High apex, long carry, any of that stuff. I'd love him to be good around the green. So more of a tee to green kind of thing too, because obviously approach matters huge and number one every single week. And then, like you said, somebody who's a little bit in form. I don't think you can just suddenly get it here. Like, I'm in Mexico. I'm in Puerto Rico. I'm in a real true resort course where there's no tests here. You just have to go out and score 25 under. And to that point, too, I don't think scoring will be as low as it was last year when it was softer. We should be.
It's a bet I can't wait to make.
Yeah. If they have a total, like a score total, it's funny. We both came to that independently. I had that in my notes. I'm like, I'm going to see if there's something, because it could be 5-6 shots higher than last year.
1,000%. We have two,
especially with one guy who, like if somebody's going to run away with this, it was going to be Scotty getting right. and some of his wayward stuff wasn't going to matter as much this week. So yeah, you gotta, as long as we're doing this, some of the live people are wondering, you get a couple bombs flyers with some of these, especially some of the offshores, they are
Probably
a little slow. There's a few places that have not adjusted at all. I think my like true bombs were, I looked at like Matty Schmid. How about RNP, Rasmus Niergaard Peterson?
So this is flying in the face of what I literally just said. We should not be doing, right? Like I know,
but if you want to put a small amount on somebody, before they go from like 180 to 100, whatever.
And I trust Matt. Matt and I talk all the time. He's sharp. He's not going to make dumb decisions. I think this is like Matt flying to the top of the board where you can, right? If you like, I grabbed a little bit of like Kitayama and Gotterup because they were last, like the guys at the top of the board that I really was like had a hard time not betting. So I grabbed a little bit of Gotterup and Kitayama because they're playing really good golf. They hit it far. They modeled really well for me. Like they, so again, it's harder to sprinkle at the top. So I totally get it. Man,
I have seen the first book I'm seeing to fully, re-rack it has Minwoo as your favorite at 12. He was what, 20?
Yeah.
18 to 20. Got her up 14. He was in that same range. Knapp is now 18 to 1. Sam Burns 22, and Brooks Koepka 22 to 1. Bo Hostler, your sixth favorite. That's fun.
Texas you want to like all the way down the board, bomb, just scroll to the bottom. Especially if you can get each ways. Mason Howell, the Moose.
Yeah.
Okay. I think he's like 19 or 20. Hits it a mile. Won the USAM. He'll be in the Masters. He'll be with Rory because if you win the USAM, you get to play with the defending Masters champ. It's his idol. Again, if you're 19 and your nickname's the Moose and you hit it a mile, I think he's like, what's the Moose's number right now? 75 or no, 750 to 1. I'm sorry. On FanDuel. If you can get an each way on the Moose, I think that one's pretty interesting. Nicky Dunlap.
Yeah.
No missed fairway penalty. Just send it, Nick. Send it with no. Again, but he's just a guy playing terrible golf. This is the Gordon Sargents of the world. Trey Mullinex. There you go. Mullinex actually models pretty well. Hits it a mile. That would be where I would go. The Toasties of the world are way down here. But again, Toasty probably shortened his odds pretty significantly because he showed a pulse at Valspar for a minute. So kind of crazy. Young Luke Clinton, 350. Again, playing terrible golf. It's awful at the Valspar. I think he's like 11 over par. It was really rough, but way down the board. Did you say Bo Hostler's the sixth favorite?
Not everywhere, but
what?
Yeah, that's at so it is Bet Online. And another one just
can't be the sixth favorite at Bet Online. What are you talking about?
I'm dead serious. Yeah, I'm
he's 200, he's 300 to 1.
He's 25 to 1. I'm
Bo
reading
Hostler?
it. Yes. That
right,
like
well,
something
that's a Bet Online era.
Something happened in the re-rack. Because I'm like, I don't know about that.
No,
that's probably missing a zero.
It's missing a
zero. As I'm looking at other
of
places starting to reshuffle, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it now? Texas kid though, 25 to 1. You got to take it.
Less penal mistake than.
Usually it's the other way around.
So, yeah, I mean, extra zero would be a problem. So,
okay. All right. Let's rein it back in a little.
Thanks to Scotty.
Yeah. All right. We talked a little bit about the bomber stuff. And truthfully, let's bring up the Novig thing real quick. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because it's pretty simple. If you want a full year subscription to all the tools and stuff here, we finally have another affiliate partner. There's an article right on the site. It'll run you through everything you need to do. It's up on the screen right now. You sign up for a new Novig subscription, Novig membership plan, whatever it is. Just sign up for an account there. That's probably the right word for it. You make a $5 purchase and you're going to get a promo code. for a full year of Betsperts Golf. That is 1,000,000% off because they are running a nice affiliate deal where they will, help make us whole a little on the back end by helping them bring them some new customers. And truthfully, it's a sports book I use. So check out Novig. And like I said, if you have any questions on that, there's an article on the site, but you can also reach out to us in the Discord, in the Twitter streets, in the YouTube. So check it out. And yeah, it's a pretty good deal. That's not, I don't know how long that's going to last. So
it's not going to last
check it
long.
out for $5.
Yeah. Give yourself more outs. Another book available, like almost 40 states. So again, all here on the site for you. Check it out. Like Andy laid out for you. Pretty stoked about that. Also want to remind people, this is new. We haven't shared it on social. We're close to filling it just by talking about it a little bit in our Discord. And again, hashtag make it bigger. If you guys have interest in this, we can talk to our friends over at Splash Sports to increase the pool. But we will have a weekly contest, tiers contest, $10, 3 max entry, guaranteed prize payout. So even if we don't fill, this is going to pay out, but looks like we're going to fill it with no problem. It's simply tiers. Pick one golfer for the 8 tiers. Your lowest score is dropped. Your top 7 are what are graded, and pretty simple payouts. So compete against other Betsperts Golf subscribers, ourselves included. I got to get in here. I'm not in here yet, and it's going to fill. 3 max, $10, easy. Would love to bump this up. Just something that we can kind of do every week and have a lot of fun. Lots of great contests over there at Splash. So if you just head to splashsports.com, you'll find in the lobby. You just have to scroll over a couple, and it's right there at the top on the golf section. So pretty straightforward. Help us fill that. And we'll do some more fun stuff with them as the season goes along.
All right. Back to Memorial Park. We've kind of covered, the differences in how it played last year compared to this year. I think that's a big thing. And, it leads more into some of the key stats stuff. I don't know that I'm ever happy going to, just straight around the green. You can definitely get a little more granular on that if you want. But truthfully, I do wonder about just using straight up short game. Short game is around the green plus putting. Putting's not sticky. It's hard to predict. It's hard to predict who's going to. Every show who does stuff like what stats correlated with winning this, they're always going to list putting because putting matters. It's one of those things where, it's like, winning the Powerball is correlated with picking the Powerball correctly. You got to get that 6th number right if you want to win the jackpot. It'd be a lot easier if you knew what it was, though. It's very, very difficult to do. And same thing goes with putting. It's hard to predict, some of these guys who are volatile in putting when they're going to have a good week. And, we do the best we can with some of the stats, but short game may be a better way to look at that. Some guys who are just have a decent baseline overall putting, but are good around the green as well. We mentioned ball speed, apex height, driving distance, carry distance, however you want to mash those things together and start to look at, maybe more of a negative stat where you're just kind of wiping guys off. Like, hey, I'd love you to win this. And you're a big number, but you're just going to be at such a disadvantage here because, you're not going to keep up with some of the big hitters who are going to be able to absolutely rear back because there's so few spots where you can get in big trouble. You basically have to hit it into a canyon because there is a canyon. And if you don't hit it into that canyon on the one hole and you stay away from the water,
not a lot of water, but there's a little bit of water.
Yeah, there's water on like 1 or 2 late holes. That's if you stay out of those, you basically can just spray it and hit it as hard as you can. So it does kind of take some of the shorter hitters out of it for me. And then
this actually here lays out my story.
Go ahead.
This lays out my story real quick from last year, right? So 24 dry, right? Get a little bit more rollout. We saw driving distance dip last year a little bit, but you also see a significant dip in 320 plus yard drives because we didn't get any rollout last year because it was wet. So we had the driving distance went down, 320 yard drives went down, yet good drive percentage went up because it was
easier to hit the soft greens. Yes,
correct. Right. So this is why, again, this
This is the housing market problem. Like, hey, the housing market's way up. I'm going to get so much money for my house. I have to buy a house and the housing market's way up, and the opposite, like, housing's so cheap, but I'm not getting shit for mine when I sell it. It's just, a give and take. Like, you're not getting the rollout, but long irons are going to be a little easier because the greens are receptive.
Correct. So sorry to interrupt. That was my point at the top, delivered by data. That again, guys that are kind of average in distance can still hang a little bit if they're really good with approach shots, especially from distance, because they're going to get a little bit more rollout than they did last year. And it's going to be, they're going to be rewarded for their good approach play, while the bomber is still kicking it around with his approach game because he's just not playing good golf right now. So,
yeah. And it's funny because normally when we start talking key stats, when we start talking about anything as far as like what matters here and who wins, we go right to approach. And because even here we're saying we have an archetype and we've always seen it be this archetype, you still have to be good on approach. Doesn't matter if you are, you are the longest driver in the field, if you are missing your greens, if you're constantly chipping, trying to get up and down here, because even though scoring's going to be higher than, in previous years, you still have to score quite a bit to win here. This is, this is not a U.S. Open, guys. So you're going to have to hit quite a few greens. It's going to be tough because of the dryness. So some of these 150 plus, 250 plus proximity stuff around the green from short grass, I think it's like 2/3 of the shots come from the shorter surfaces when you're around the greens. Not even talking about the difference between rough and short grass, like the fact that there's so few bunkers. Like if you're getting up and down from around the green, 2/3 of the time you're just on short grass because there's so few other ways to do it around there. And then some of the, maybe something I haven't looked at or used as much, but like 3-putt avoidance here, if it's going to be this dry, they're going to run quick and they're pretty big. Not the biggest greens on tour, but they're pretty sizable.
Yeah.
And they're undulated and they're going to be fast. So I think some of the stuff is going to be, probably maybe 3-putt avoidance or like just SG putting from 25 feet plus or something like that. And then, the stuff to throw out, like we mentioned, driving accuracy, not going to matter this week. I just mentioned, I don't know how many people really dig into sand stuff, but you're just going to have so few of those. Like, you need to get more granular on scrambling to kind of suss out the stuff that's from the sand. And then, just what wedges, like there're just so few wedge shots. If you're hitting a wedge, you've screwed up, or, it's more of an around the green thing anyway. I think, yeah, look at that. The 50 to 100 range is quite a bit lower. And then kind of the middle stuff is just right on par with the rest of
kind of flat.
The rest, it's still lower. I mean, 100 to 150, the amount of shots you take there is lower than tour average. The amount of shots you take from 50 to 100 is almost half of the tour average. So not much for wedges here.
Yeah. I mean, get back into scoring here, as you touched on, Jaeger at 12. Again, a bunch of guys chasing him at 11. Again, we didn't come here in 23 because it changed the spot in the schedule. And then anything here, the Finau year and beyond, that's when it was played and as a fall event. So you really are, as I was saying at the top, it's a unique event to handicap because we really have had 2 years in this spot, with the Reno. And then, last year played, I think, significantly different. So I do think we're going to see a score way closer to 12 than 20. So again, you got to make birdies and take advantage of it, but I just don't think that we're getting back up to a spot with all those 20s. Could be wrong, but I'm willing to make if the books, are looking to kind of have us replicate a, 18 to 20 under, which I think we probably see when that comes out. So, but yeah, the around the green stuff matters a ton, especially, 2/3, like you said, it's just so much higher than we typically see. The tour average the last 5 years, 40.3% of the around the green play coming from short grass. This is like, again, they've wisely tried to Augusta National-fy the course as a prep event, right? take the rough away, shave the grass down, big undulating greens. Distance matters a ton. That's, again, you can still properly test pro golfers like this. It doesn't all have to be really thick rough and insane, penal water and all sorts of different stuff. Like, just go play and make shots. You still got to go out and hit golf shots here to get it done.
I know you see a lot of, and I think some of these guys are people that play more golf than me or play at better courses than me, but they have so many opinions on like, oh, this isn't a proper test. And this is, and I get it. I understand the reasoning. That's what I love about golf is that, like, this isn't Florida.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in other sports. I love the NFL is my first love, but it's just, unless there's a snowstorm, it's just, the game is the game where that's the best part about it is like, we have this course where you're going to hit, there's going to be 200 water balls. And that's the problem. You're going to have a course where, hey, we're going to try to hurt you physically and mentally and, at a US Open venue and then sometimes you just have, hey, guess what? We're playing Myrtle Beach this week and everybody's going to score 1 million. And, that's the fun part about this, I think, for sure. So yeah, it is a different kind of test. And some of it is just the length and, it doesn't play as long as what you see on paper, but it kind of depends on where they want to move things around and how it's playing. And honestly, at the same time, those threes are long enough that maybe the fact that we're taking a little bit off some of the 4s and 5s, it's still going to be a lot of long iron shots for you when you start throwing that stuff in. So, I did want to quick touch on course history.
Sure.
And it's funny because we liked Minwoo so much, and I think he was pretty even off the tee.
He lost
he lost strokes off the tee. So it's funny. You need a guy with like club head speed and that's a bomber, but it doesn't mean they're just going to sit and gain a bunch of strokes off the tee and win this. Like a lot of those guys he was just pretty even, but he was good on approach, made his putts. He was a scrambler. And, we do this all the time. We say, hey, what does a bomber have that a non-bomber doesn't have? And a lot of times it is just speed, club head speed. And that matters a lot too when it comes to some of these long irons where they're able to generate more speed and distance with a lesser club. So they can get a little, they can get a little more loft, a little more. That's why apex height is, correlated here because the guys who hit a little higher and longer on these approach shots are going to be able to find and hold these greens a lot better. So even if your bomber isn't gaining a ton off the tee, it's because everybody here is just sitting back and piss roping it. And where it comes in, I think, is definitely how they're hitting their long approach shot. So and then history, not super sticky. But I think above average here, if you did want to look at that. And then comp courses is something I hadn't looked at yet, but, Renaissance, I think Southern Hills, probably something that's built in. We click the load the comp courses. I want to see what ours lists. Scottsdale, Pinehurst, Quail Hollow, tough ones. There's the Renaissance Club. Yeah, it's a weird one to try to comp. That's where I was really curious to see what it would try to pull up.
Yeah, in majors, right? We Augusta, Pinehurst, Congaree, we don't go to regularly, so it's also kind of tricky. In Bay Hill too, from like tee ball striking wise, maybe, but again, a lot of thick rough, especially around the greens at Bay Hill. I know they cut some of it back this year a little bit, but historically it's been a thick apron type of scenario. So it's tricky. Course history, I don't know. Like again, with two iterations in March, and they played, I think, pretty drastically differently. So not a piece of the puzzle for me this week. But I understand.
Yeah, you can't go terribly far back on this. It's not the course they used to play. If you want to say like, hey, this guy played pretty well in 18. Like, where was that played at though?
Yeah, November pre-reno. Like it's just totally different. So And again, Pinehurst, like, all right, you did great at Pinehurst. We've been there once in the last 8 years. So like,
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
it is a little tricky. I'm trying to think, when did they move to Memorial?
17.
That sounds right. It's been a bit.
Yeah.
This has had a lot of different names too. This used to be the Shell. The Shell Houston Open when I was a youngster. So, anything else for you? Want to start talking about some of the guys you bet?
That's all I got. Good. I wanted to pull your model and see what we got in here. See what
you did mine early this week.
Did you?
Yeah, a little earlier. So,
all right.
So I pulled last year. So whenever you win a tournament, I can't mention this enough. We hit Minwoo here last year. So I went and found my model from last year, and what you can do is just hit copy model, and then it'll throw everything in there because I wanted to add a thing or two. So I left carry distance in, even though I know it is playing difference, but carry distance obviously going to matter. Yeah, you can just hit the
for people who don't know, just if you have, this is going to go into, it's going to save all your old models. You just want to pull them up, just hit copy. It's going to populate everything back up here. And then you can rerun it. You can add things. You can change
the weights. Yeah. So that's what I did. I took last year's, and basically it was those 4 things you're looking at: carry distance, proximity, 150 to 200, proximity 200 plus. And then I think that was just form, maybe mouse over that. Yeah, just 12 months of form, because I wanted guys who were playing well. And then I added a couple things. I added some more driving distance and ball speed to just, like, honestly, who are my guys who are good ball strikers? I didn't do anything with around the green yet. So I use that as more of a, once I started to look at names, I had to make sure they weren't horrific around the green. But for the most part, I started like I said I was going to start. I'm going to find guys who have, good off the tee distance and have good long irons. Get me there so you can score. Okay. And then, go from there. Because, there's some names on here that are definitely, thrown out if we start to look at short game. Like, and even, looking at Popketer, he's going to be up there because of the distance stuff. But if you look at his iron play, like, I know he modeled well for me, but I think that's enough to throw him out. So I didn't play him, even though he was fairly high based on a mostly driving distance kind of model.
Yeah, nothing but bombers up here, which makes sense. You have, carry, driving, and ball speed. So we're gonna feeding 60% of it to bombers. So they're gonna show up for sure. So again, it makes sense. I at the top, I just wanted to. It's been just the note of everything I've seen and read, and I get it, but I also think I think you got to be playing. I think you got to be playing good. I think this course has actually got a little bit more nuance and a little bit more interesting than it's been than it played last year.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like, you look at Potketer's form. I know he's won a tournament, but he's not somebody I'm expecting to just come and play well enough here. He's 104th in last 12 months, just strokes gained total. And that includes, when was his win? It was within the last 12 months.
I know he's lost some weight, so kudos to him for getting together. He's got to be bigger than 5'11", 211, right? Like that doesn't check out.
I've never seen him in person. I have been very close to Gotterup in person. He should have been at the combine with the linebacker crew, backing down in Indy, running the cone drill, man. And it's just, he's gaining off the tee, but it's tough to use him when the Genesis doesn't make any sense either. Like, how did he just suddenly, start pouring everything in on the green? And the ball striking was very good there too. But he had a couple spike putt rounds.
Yep. So his approach was okay, just fine. But yeah, he putted really well. But yeah, it feels like an anomaly for sure. It's not been pretty. And again, young kid, insane amount of talent. But I just personally I need a little bit more well-roundedness this week again. But he's Pot Geeter in particular is not going to cost you a lot because he's probably bumped up a little bit because of the distance thing. He's probably bet a little bit because of the distance thing, but it's not like he's costing you a ton to click this week. So no problem with that. Let's see. I'll pull mine, show you what I got here. What's your thoughts? I do have a little bit of around the green. Kitayama moves to the top of my model with Scotty Scheffler out, which makes some sense. So we have, let's see, last 50 tee to green. Got approach in a few different ways. This is approach on long and very long golf courses. Strokes gained total here. This is basically weeding out any really easy scoring, because again, I want to push back on the fact that I think maybe 12, 13 under is the winning score. I think this could get back to playing close to even par for the field versus it playing a little bit under last year. So wanted to weed out any easy scoring. What else do I have here? Long and very long golf courses. Play well in these setups. And let's see. Got a bunch of these things. Here's some more carry distance. Just recent form, 06, and then get into some rolling approach. So distance, ball striking. I think ball striking is got a filter of some sort on it, because most of the time I do that. Yeah, driver heavy, very long golf courses. No missed fairway penalty, no rough penalty. It's kind of what we have, right? When you can just club head cover off with no concern about where it goes, just send it. Who's played well ball striking there. And then this is rolling approach 12, 24, 36. I went with around the green proximity on short grass. Pull out any of the putting stuff. Just, how well are you, can you get yourself close to the hole there? And then bogey avoidance. I think you're right on like the 3-putt, whatever it is. I think bogey avoidance, somehow tying that in a little bit. Here's the around the green short grass rankings, just so we could see the guys that have played well here. Yellow Miraju.
I've seen him on a few cards, little longer price. It's getting beat down because people are starting to fall in love with him. But and just real quick, as you mentioned, so like the 5-year scoring average here is 70.3, and it's a
70.
It's a par 70, so just really close to par. 2 years ago, right on there, 70.25, 70.5 the year before, 70.8 before that. Last year, 68.8. So like a full stroke, a stroke and a half doesn't seem like a lot, but it was the entire field. Correct. This includes the guy that you scroll down to that's like, that you say, hey, is he playing a different course because he's 16 over through 8? Like it includes everybody. So that is a pretty massive difference, just because it was so wet here last year.
Yeah, matters. Brooks, who, I mean, if you look at this rolling approach form, right next to the around the green play, knowing that he was I
mentioned Matty Schmidt.
Yeah, Matty Schmidt. I thought Matty Schmidt was actually, I think, a pretty popular sleeper last week a little bit.
Yeah.
Adam Scott kind of has the Brooks build here. It's a recent form. Approach wise, and the around the green short grass stuff is nice. Here's Nick Dunlap. That's actually joking, but like that's actually not bad for Nick Dunlap. Svensson, Sanjay, Ricardo, who needs to play well. Ricky's not currently in the Masters field, even though he's been playing pretty good. Kiefer struggling a little bit. Your boy ADC, put him on the clock.
He was not my boy last week. Jesus. Luckily I had a volleyball tournament. I didn't watch a good chunk of that final round. I caught the end when I got home. But I was kind of keeping up with it. And like how annoying do you have to be to make Fitzy mad? Like Fitzy doesn't seem like a guy who gets mad easily.
He's trying to ice him. It felt like he was trying to ice him. It's like,
yeah.
Man.
So ADDC dead to me. Wyndham Clark, not a name I've put in a card for quite a while. Yeah. Kitayama I was close on. Obviously, I really can't be like, you know what? I'm sold on Kitayama. I'm going to add him at 12-1. Can't do it after the reset for sure. And truthfully, like I'm the worst of everybody at the company as far as getting my bets in early. Sometimes I'm betting Wednesday morning. I feel like I did a good job by doing them for the most part last night into today. And I feel a little like, the carrot and the stick. I got the carrot this week because the 1 week I actually do stay on top of things, we get a big withdrawal and suddenly I have good numbers. So, I mean, we can start talking about some of our bets, but at this point, if you haven't got bets in, I'm sorry, because some of all of the prices are going to be markedly worse when you lose someone. When someone's 315, 3-1, they're saying he wins the event a quarter of the time. That is 25% of the equity, and that has to get redistributed among everybody else. And that's a big swing on some of the top of the guy boards. And you haven't seen short shots win here either, so it makes it even harder. I struggled to bet on some of these guys that were in the 20s and 30s, just because it's not something that you see happening that often here. So now it's even harder.
Yeah, and it doesn't get redistributed all the way down the board. It mostly just gets sucked up to your
goes
top
to the top.
10. Yeah,
I know. So I did get like 23 on Gotterup, which is obviously gone. That's a good price, and I think he likes it here. I think he's going to like it here throughout his whole career, because this is just such a good spot. And obviously, you want a guy who's playing good golf. He's got win equity this year. I don't care. I'll bet him again
twice.
He's gonna be my. I shouldn't compare him to Campbell. He's so much better than Campbell, but just like he's a guy I don't care. He's gonna keep winning. So I bet him. Obviously, a little tougher to do at 14 or whatever, but he just modeled out so well for basically everybody. The distance, the proximity, and he's come out and said he can't wait to get to Houston and spray it around.
Yep, like the Gotterup.
He's played well at Renaissance.
Played pretty well there, I think. Yeah. Penge did too. I think that's another click you made.
Yeah, I did bet Penge. He was 40 at Bookmaker this morning, like 40 plus 40-12 or something weird like that. But he's another one where sorry that his number got super beat up from last week to this week because he played well, but he's another guy that modeled well. He looks like he's gonna be sticking around for a while. Some of these, DP guys that, this is gonna be the next big thing, and then 2 years later they're just not playing over here as much. He looks like he's got it, and he's one that modeled well. He's playing well, and he's kind of got the course fit for me here.
Nice. All right, what else you got? Those are kind of two towards the top ish.
What was that?
The only two? What else do you have? Those are your.
No, I bet 5 this week.
Okay.
I bet Nikolai Hojgaard. You can see he is super high up in your model.
Yep. Terrifying to click just one of the two of them.
I know. I'm always wrong about it. But I did triple check that I had the right one, because Rasmus is a longer price. Yep. He's another one where, good form, good approach, good everything. He's the distance model that I put together, if you want to call it that. He's great. Ball speed, scrambling from the short grass was pretty high for him, if you go and look at that. So that was another feather in his cap. And I think he played really well at the Renaissance Club.
Yeah. Yep, that fits.
So 37 is what I got on him earlier. He's probably a little closer to 30 now. So, and then the one that I couldn't avoid, I thought I could, because he's old as shit, but Adam Scott, man. God, he was 74-1 at Bookmaker this morning. Because I'd looked at somewhere else. I'm like, all right, Adam Scott's going to be 45-1.
74?
74-1. So this is one where, hey, those people who tweet, here's a guy I'm playing that you shouldn't. Adam Scott is probably that guy. Like, he's kind of winding down on his how many times I can go to Augusta and maybe actually compete. So I think he's playing pretty hard right now, trying to get himself ready for 2 weeks from now. But he modeled well at everything. He modeled pretty high for a guy who's like 50 in the distance model. His approach play from 200 plus was great. He's won 4 times in Texas. Obviously, that's over a long career. And yeah, the number was just way too big for somebody playing that well.
I mean,
Like I'm
21
saying,
driving.
you're going to log into your book and you're going to find him at like 38 to 1. You're going to be, I can't do that. And I do not blame you. But this morning, that was just a bit of an outlier price. That's why we encourage everyone, get as many outs as you can and shop around, because especially with golf, man, there's always some place it's like, Jesus, what, have you not taken a single bet on this guy? He's still 52.50 at bookmaker right now.
That makes no sense. I mean, he's 40-ish everywhere else for the most part. He's always hit the ball far. He's always been long. I mean, look, his baseline 100 rounds ball speed, 180.5. Look where he's been. He's 45 years old. Over the last 24 rounds, he's added 4 miles per hour at 45. I mean,
everybody's working on it.
4 miles per hour is a lot. That's a huge jump. Yeah, that's a great number. It's a great number. I played it, so I bet him.
Did you bet him?
He's on my cover. He's in the cover of my article.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're riding at him, Scott. And then I did another guy that just kind of hey, he's part of the covenant because we bet him and he won last year. Michael Brennan. And I bet him twice, because I bet him at 100 to 1, and then I found like a 115. I'm like, what if we sprinkle a little more? So
think a little bit more.
Yeah, Brennan at 115 was that was pretty tempting this morning too, for another longer shot that I like quite a bit. He won Utah last year. He's a longer off the tee guy. He was same thing. God, we did this with Cam Young. You remember the Cam Young tee shot? That's how he was like every hole when he won in Utah, where it's like, hey, if you miss here, because there is danger in Utah. If you hit that lava, your ball's caroming off into the next state, out into the desert. And he didn't give a shit. He was just ripping them and won him the damn tournament. So Michael Brennan, big price, former Brainerd Open winner, and much younger. Much younger than the Aussie Adam Scott.
Much younger. That's the last year card.
Yep, those are my 5.
I like it. All right. First for me, Brooks Koepka. I kind of showed it. Like he's ball striking has been so good. He leads this field in 2026, tee to green, approach, and ball striking. And the putting's improved, and whatever course redesigner here, right? He was part of that. Just playing really good golf, seen enough of the putting improvements, and I just been slow. I've been not interested in Brooks, been fading Brooks, been looking to find ways to kind of go against him. But I think we've seen enough right now where he's kind of clicking on all cylinders. And
he was carrying a knee injury last year,
like 4 years.
Yeah. I mean, it was a long-term thing that was bugging him. And I absolutely couldn't be playing him because he'd have these flyers that would go off. And I think it was his knee injury was bothering him enough. It was messing with his mechanics. I'm with you. I didn't bet him, couldn't quite do it, but I think he's actually a threat to win tournaments here coming up.
Correct. I did this for all my bets. I played them all in the 3-place each way market. So my Brooks number is 40. Basically, I got one of these guys to not win in T3. I get a small profit for the week. If they win, I get my normal stake. So Brooks at 40 in the 3 places each way market. I'm also with you. I'm with you twice. I'm also with you on Nikolai. Playing really good golf. Putter's good. Tee to green's great. Love him. But you see here, if you're just searching by strokes gained total, very difficult in average conditions. This is pre-Scotty withdrawal. Nikolai is graded out pretty well there. Again, just putting well. Putts well on Poetriv. That's his best putting surface. Again, I played 50 to 1 with the 3 places. Like that one quite a bit. Had to
I
get my
assume.
tax.
I assume. Yeah, I was close. Theo Bjornsson's a very good play. I was very close. I just don't like to be the guy that has 8 damn guys on the card.
For sure. So yeah, I got my 6 guys. Again, I didn't want to see him collapse with the players. I certainly did not want him to win the players without me having the ticket there. So, but if you look here, this is strokes gained off the tee, driver heavy, low rough, that settings. No one's gained more strokes off the tee than young Thor here over the last 18 months or so. So solid group of guys here. Thor kind of leads that pack. So like him. And I had to pay that. And again, it's 60 with the 3 places. Same number for Adam Scott, 60 with 3 places, as I touched on. Let me look at the approach form, 12, 24, 36 rounds. He's top 3 in all of them. Fantastic around the green. Short grass.
Yeah, great hands.
Great hands.
Always has.
Again, a former Masters winner. We like that short grass stuff. And again, insane speed jump. Plays well on tough golf courses. And I like that number. Ryan Gerard, I think, is kind of no one's going to talk about Ryan Gerard this week because he's going to be kind of middle of the pack-ish, slightly above average in distance. But look at the approach game. He's completely dialed. He's been awesome. And it's solo 9th year last year. So he's come here before. Again, last year when I think the speed was going to matter a little bit more. Again, his speed is up. He's up 2 miles per hour versus his 100-round baseline. So I'd like to see the gains there too. And just, again, pole putting, short grass around the green, recent form. I think he's sneaky in DFS and foxy.
I've seen this a few times. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it jumped off to me, and I guess I feel like the concerns around the kidney stones.
Yeah, I couldn't do it because of that.
Yeah, but it feels baked in a way, right? Fox shouldn't be 90 or 100. I got him at 150 in the 3 places, and Fox is just when he's good, he is. Yeah,
do you have a reason? I haven't been
He's pregnant, right?
What?
Meredith's pregnant.
Is she?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I wonder if she's due here soon or something. If you know something, Pterodactyl, let me know. I just assumed we'd see the backs against the wall. We're not that good, but it's game 2 of the finals, and TGL, they're sitting a guy and bringing Scotty in. Scotty and Tiger. TGL tonight. That's not it. Apparently it is baby number 2. And you mentioned DFS. I had some thoughts on DFS. I don't know if they make any sense now because your build is very different. Because, if you were fading Scotty, you have to do everything over. You have to redo it because now the field is fading Scotty because you can't use him anymore. Yeah. And they're not going to sit and redo the salaries. So it's going to be a really weird week where I think you're going to have to really struggle to get unique here. The guys I mentioned, Gotterup, Hojgaard, Scott, Kitayama. There's some foundational guys I like quite a bit. Wyndham Clark is another one where he wasn't good at the Valspar, so he's not playing well, but he's played well here in the past, and he's probably a good pivot in the 8s. Keith Mitchell's a good pivot in the 8s. He's, driving distance and short gas. He's going to be fine in those spots. And then the other guys I had highlighted in the 7s were Jaeger, who's obviously played well here.
Sure. Gary
Woodland.
Probably pretty popular.
He's going to be very highly owned at 7,400, but if you need a guy, or if you're not scared of the ownership, or the rest of your lineup is going to be, lower ownership and you can slide him in there, he's going to be popular. And so I don't know about Yella Miraju, but he's somebody he models well enough for a $7,200 guy. And I don't think his ownership is going to be terribly high. So he's somebody to look at. One and done is tricky because it's a small purse. And, the last, how many winners we've had are all some of these bigger numbers. So it's tough to zero in on a one and done guy. That's hey, this guy makes sense and he's going to be chalky. I do think that, now that Scotty's out, there are going to be plenty of people that just say, I'll take Minwoo, I'll take Gotterup, I'll take Kitayama, I'll take one of the, I'll take Bo Hosler as 6th favorite. I'll take one of these guys that's near the top of the board. Probably not the worst week to just, I think there's 2 roads you can take. Your favorite player that's in the top 6 or 7 names that you think has a very high floor, or get absolutely wild with it and take someone. I'm not saying like Yellow Miraju or somebody like that, but someone in the 50, 60, 70 range that you think is going to surprise this week, because it's a small purse and you can probably get over a miscut here. I don't know that, it depends where you're at. If you're starting to chase already, if you haven't had a good year, you probably got to start finding somebody a little unique that's going to top 10, top 5 here.
Yeah, I like the Kitayama call. I think not a lot of guys that I think you are wanting to like sit on for further future events. You can make the case that like Gotterup could be a play down the board later in the season.
Yeah.
But like Kitayama, Nikolai, Brooks even, guys that I think have, a decently high floor and ceiling this week, I think are probably pretty good looks. So Gotterup's probably the only one that I'm like, maybe there's a spot later, but again, maybe not. Wouldn't hate it. Definitely ownership going up. I mean, people weren't using Scotty for one and done anyway here, but
no, you weren't going to use him here. So he doesn't really affect one and done.
Correct.
It just affects everybody's going to place one spot higher now.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So let's go Kitayama, I think, as far as like
Kitayama's a good one.
The recommendation of the show. I'll have an article out about that tomorrow. I didn't do one last week. I screwed up. I forgot all about it as I was flying through. Yeah. I know I did get a couple of messages as I was flying to Vegas. Whoops, sorry. We'll get it done this week. My one and done didn't do very well last week. We won't even mention his name. But another smaller week.
Cashed the winner though. People can't get
Yeah. We did cash a winner. 2 in a row. Can we get 3? I don't know that I've ever hit 3 in a row. I've hit 2 in the same week. That's a feeling. When you hit the alt event and the I'm trying to think, it was one of the Morikawa wins where he won a major.
Okay.
Because then it would have been like the alt event. It was Barbasol.
Open Championship and Barbasol week.
Yeah. It would have been Barbasol and Open Championship, but I do not remember who it was that won the Barbasol, which is not an event anymore. So I'm gonna have to go and dig that out. If you guys have anything else, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up in the comments here. If you have a sneaky pick for one and done DFS betting or whatever, leave it in the comments and we will congratulate you or roast you accordingly. And we'll see you next week for the Valero. Right? Is that the other Texas one? Valero's changing names.
Yep.
And then I don't know what's after that. Valero and then something else. We'll see you then.
Take care of the no big deal, guys.